Being a female in a very male-dominated sport was quite difficult.
I'm not too worried or concerned about the sacrifices because I feel like it's such a privileged position to be in.
Thing that we really focused on. We didn't want to do the pretty, like, look at me running, look how gorgeous I look. No, we're very specific on, like, what do you actually do? How do you train? You can train just as hard as the boys. You're lifting weights. There's Alex Blackwell, who's Olympic lifting, like, and she is an absolute gun. And all of the girls are a testament to themselves, and they were actually such a privilege to work with. And I've worked with a lot of athletes and interviewed a lot of athletes, and those girls very switched on and absolute great role models for females, and that's why I was so happy to be a part of it. And that's why they did so well. Those videos did really well online and on social because A, they were an authentic voice, B, they looked really awesome because we had a really great director and team on it, and C, it was just all about them. It definitely makes a difference to have a female person in the team. Doesn't necessarily have to be a lead, but as long as there's a female voice, especially when it comes to dealing with female issues, it doesn't make sense to have a room full of males deciding what the interview is going to be about, what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel. It makes no sense. So that was one thing that we were really careful about, and I worked really closely with the director to make sure that the voice was authentically female. It was coming from the women, and the messaging wasn't being filtered by anything. It was kind of just quite raw, and the stories that came from them were them, and we didn't kind of put a filter over it or do anything to it. It was just what they came up with.
In terms of advertising to tweens or to young teenagers, certain brands have I think listened to conversations about body positivity and self-esteem associated with image preoccupation, and even though it's now disappeared, magazines like Dolly were keen to introduce advertisements which showed more or less airbrushed images of women, for example. So I think it's a conversation that has evolved and intensified over the last decade, and I do think that we're seeing, a change.